dispensing soft drugs near you. The show today, we have a really interesting topic for the show today. I asked you guys on Twitter a couple days ago, I want to bring up this tweet. I said, is Vivek Ramaswamy the real deal? Or is he a grifter saying what he thinks people want to hear? And I ask you to debate below this. Thousands of you responded to this. This is a really interesting conversation. A very interesting conversation because a couple months ago, many people had not heard of Vivek Ramaswamy. Those of us who were familiar with his work were familiar with him because he has been speaking out against ESG, environmental, social, and governmental metrics for a while. He has branded himself as an anti-woke warrior. But even so, when he entered the presidential race, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I responded, I was like, okay, no one's ever heard of you. That's kind of funny that you've entered the race. But he has exceeded my expectations. He's rising in the polls. In fact, if you look at the betting odds, which I know isn't polling, but if you look at the betting odds, Vivek Ramaswamy is above DeSantis. He's behind only Trump among Republican candidates. And people have been texting me like crazy. I mean, you guys have been talking to me on social media and through my website, but a lot of my friends in the industry and my friends outside the industry, including some family members, have been texting me, asking me about Vivek because he's extremely charismatic to listen to. His answers, he's so good on air. He's so good at debating with the left that people are starting to get really interested in him. And yet, a lot of people have questions. Is he the real deal? Is he someone that can be trusted? He's never been in politics before, and some of the things that he's said in the past or positions that he's held in the past seem to be contradictory of what he's saying now. So I thought we would investigate this question today, including reading some of your responses to this question on Twitter. So I want to start by showing you just how good Vivek is at decimating leftist talking points. This was Vivek on Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. And Crystal, who's the leftist on that show, it's a co-hosted show, she's the leftist. Crystal was asking him about climate change, and she buys into the climate alarmist stuff that if we don't discontinue using fossil fuels and make sure that the Earth's temperature doesn't warm a fraction of a degree, then there's going to be an existential threat posed to the globe, yada, yada, yada. It's the John Kerry, Al Gore, Greta Thunberg stuff. And Vivek's answer was outstanding. This is what he said.
So let me lay out some hard facts, both about my views and facts on the ground.
Okay.
Sure.
Are global surface temperatures going up? Yes. Is that likely due to man-made causes? Yes. Is that an existential threat to humanity? There is no evidence to support that. To the contrary, 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. The Earth today is more covered by green surface area than it was even a century ago because carbon dioxide is plant food. Plants actually grow in slightly warmer climates. The climate disaster-related death rate is down by 98% over the last century, directly attributable to more abundant and plentiful access and use of fossil fuels. So I want to be really clear about my view. This is not does climate change exist or not? It's the wrong framing of the question. The question is, what impacts human prosperity, human flourishing in a world in which there are net positive and net negative effects of climate, but also net positive and net negative effects of the use of fossil fuels? I also find it to be a mystery, and it's a mystery maybe you can help me solve, Crystal. Why is it that many of the people who are the staunchest opponents to carbon emissions are also among the staunchest opponents to hydroelectric energy or to nuclear energy? I think that suggests there's something else going on.
There's
Why
been
the
quite a
different
shift.
standards for China?
Let me
think
just
that there's
say-
something else going on here. That's my point about there's a religious conviction that goes beyond a commitment to the facts.
Okay, so I think we can all agree after listening to that he deserves a standing ovation. I mean, it's so good. So good. So let's rise up and give him a standing ovation. By the way, when I ask this question on Twitter, when I ask you guys, is he the real deal or is he just saying what he thinks we want to hear, contradicting what he said in the past? So many of you have responded that Vivek's campaign team has jumped in the replies and is going back and forth with a lot of you guys discussing and debating. So really fun to be a part of this conversation on Twitter because this is the real thing. They are so they understand how influential our conversations on Twitter are, that they are becoming a part of it. So all that being said, I want to bring up a couple of really valid points that you guys made about Vivek, and we're going to do that in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you about Cozy Earth. Guys, summer used to mean that I was kicking off the sheets every night just to try to stay cool.